Hi everyone, it's Dubi here with Dubi TV, and this is take number 2 or 3, where you'll learn how to get more out of life with tips, inspiration, and guidance on topics related to lifestyle, business, family, and wellness. So if this is your first time that you're checking in here, give me a hashtag with a replay. If it's a replay, give me a few comments if this is you're enjoying the show, and we can give you a shout out a little bit later. So this is, as I said, a retake. I tried doing it live at the marathon, 8th mile down below there on 1:35. That's the 8th mile for the Boston Marathon of the 26.2 miles. And it looks like it got put on a vertical. So we're going to do this again. We're going to do it right, and we'll do it right from the office here, and share with you all the information that I shared right with you from the marathon, so that you'll have it in a format that you'll be able to appreciate it. So great. Thank you so much. So if you're listening in, let me know where you're listening in live from. That'd be fantastic. Or hit the hashtag replay. Perfect. Okay. So this is the 123rd marathon for Boston. For those of you who've been keeping track, 1897 was the first marathon. So 123rd is already, quite an accomplishment. A year before Boston Marathon started in 1896, it was the first time they used the marathon when it happened to be in Greece and Athens, and they wanted to put the marathon right on the agenda there for the Olympics. And it goes back, of course, centuries there before that, back to the Greek days there when Pheidippides, I believe is his name, ran from the city of Marathon to Greece to announce the Athenians that there was a victory over the Persians. So they decided to, in Greece, when they had the Olympics there in 1896, to have that as one of the one of the Olympic events. And the next year, Boston decided, hey, let's have a Boston Marathon. And it's been going on since then. And for the most part, it was for the glory that people did it. And only in the last decade or two, perhaps the most, ever since New York started offering money, and London and other places, that Boston started offering a prize, cash prize there for running the marathon, and coming in first place for women's or coming in first place for men's. And women, of course, didn't start running until, I believe, 1972. There were some bandits that ran, but that was the first formal time that women were able to participate in the Boston Marathon. Who would have thought? At any rate, lots of changes have happened since then. But as a kid, I grew up here in the 50s here, and I used to walk down the end of my street here. Actually, it's a lane, and went over the bridge, and only less than 5-minute walk. And all the neighbors would be gathering around, and all the people that came from the community, and we'd watch all the marathoners go by. I think the first marathon back in 1896 were only a few dozen. This year there were 30,000 plus participants. I think the highest amount was for the centennial in 1996, where there were some like 36 or 37,000, but they limited to 30,000 people. You can't just qualify easily. You have to have run another marathon. You have to have done it within your age bracket and within the time frame to be able to qualify. And then you have to get online, and you have to get your slot there too. So nothing's guaranteed that you're going to be officially having a number to be there running the Boston Marathon. But as a kid, I'd watch everybody go by. I was truly inspired by all these people. Thought they were a little crazy, perhaps, at some point, seeing them run 26.2 miles in all type of weather conditions. Today we had really a lot of rainfall at nighttime, and almost up to 9 o'clock, maybe, when the wheelchair racers went by. I think it was still raining at that point, but by 10 o'clock, things cleared up by the first waves. I think there were 3 main waves of runners that went through there. And I was able to catch a few of those waves when I was doing it live at 11 o'clock. But okay, here we are in the office, and we're talking about it as opposed to seeing it visually here. The throngs of people. I think there's 500,000 people, 500,000 people that come out to the whole course of the 26.2 miles, going from Hopkinton all the way to Boston. It starts off in Hopkinton, goes through Ashland and Framingham. The Natick is the 8th mile, where I've been watching since a kid. And through Wellesley College students, the women there cheer on, and really is a big boost for a lot of the runners there. And they do a great job there with a lot of hoopla. And it goes through Newton, eventually Brookline, and into Boston on Boylston Street. If you've been looking in my profile at all, you'll have seen Thursday, I believe, as well as Saturday night, I took pictures of the finish line and some of the ambiance that was going on in Boston, particularly Saturday night, with gazillions of people there that were out there celebrating and getting ready, registering, getting their jackets and getting all their numbers and everything that's connected with that. So, at any rate, I wanted to go back to my high school days back in the 60s, and I was one of these overweight kids. I think they called it, I was a husky sizes or what have you. Wasn't obese, but overweight, and I wasn't really an athlete, although I did play some basketball in middle school or something like that, but wasn't a runner, for that's for sure. And people who didn't run a half a mile in those days were part of the Wayland Commandos. So we had to stay after school, and we had to practice running with the coach. And imagine if they did that today. I don't know if they would allow such a thing, at any rate, where it would be stigmatizing students and what have you. But at any rate, I must say that I was one of the Wayland Commandos there and never saw myself as an athlete. And the beauty of these things is it didn't stigmatize me. It only years later, once I was out of college, I decided to do a marathon myself. And I decided that I wasn't going to be a prisoner of my past, but I was going to be an architect of my future. And I think that's a really great lesson that I learned early on, too, is that what happened in the past happened in the past, but I can recreate that and have a transformation. And I've had lots of transformations. We'll talk about another one a little bit later during this Dubi TV show today. So here I am in Israel, and I'm being conscripted into the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. I'm in the Sinai, and I'm serving with a really good friend of mine from California, from Los Angeles, Neil. And he was captain of the Stanford University track team. He was a natural-born athlete. He would just roll out of bed and run a marathon. He probably ran a marathon every day of his life. I don't know, for at least a good part of his life, and probably today would be in the Boston Marathon if it wasn't that he was in Colorado right now, living there right now. But at any rate, Neil and I were in the Sinai and in the desert there, and in the morning time or so, we would go out when we'd had a break, and we'd go out for a run. And Neil really got me going to say, "Hey, let's go! Come on, let's go for a run." And if I ran a half a mile, that was quite a bit. But at this point, I started running at least a mile a day with Neil, with all our gear and what have you. And he would run 5 miles in one direction by the time I reached the half-mile mark. And he'd catch up with me after he finished his 10th mile, perhaps. But he was fast, and I wasn't that fast, that's for sure. So fast forward a little bit time there, and there's 2 other friends of mine, plus Neil, who all say, "Hey, let's do the marathon around the Sea of Galilee," which was sort of a new thing going on in the 70s there in Israel. And okay. So we started training, and I also played some soccer, which I never played in Boston area here in Natick. So I started playing religiously on Friday. Everybody said, "Oh, if you're training for the marathon, you can't be playing soccer. You could get injured. You won't, all that will go, not well." And as it turned out, I did continue playing some soccer and enjoy that community spirit. Playing with the Israelis, the Sabras as we call them, and playing with people from Holland and from Germany and from many other countries that were spending time on my kibbutz, our collective or communal lifestyle place. And okay, and here I was training, and the other 3 of them all had injuries from running, and I was the only one running the marathon, my very first marathon. Didn't know what to expect. Started off by Kibbutz Ein Gev, right by the Sea of Galilee, ran to Tiberias and all the way back. I could see my home up on the cliffside the whole way that I was running back towards the finish line, the last half of the marathon, and that's kind of exciting. And I did it in less than 4 hours. Of course, when they took my picture, I didn't want it blown up because I thought, that's nothing to be so proud about. But later on, I learned that doing it in just less than 4 hours. That's much better than the median. I think it's 4 hours and 12 minutes or something like that. Or people who run marathons, 4 hours and 15 minutes. But quite impressive for someone who wasn't an athlete, someone who wasn't really of the mindset, someone who had been a Wayland commando, someone who had been overweight at one point there too, to be able to run that. And I not only ran one, but I ran two, and I would have run a third had I not been knocked over by someone who had a glass eye, who was driving a van and knocked me over my bicycle early one morning. But at any rate, here I was, finished the marathon, jumped in a bathtub when I got back to my house. And that next day, I flew down to the Sinai because I was in charge of three, maybe four different tribes or groups of people that came from Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and Haifa that were part of the Scouts movement. And it culminated their high school years before they went into the army with a trip that went down to the Sinai, to these gorgeous, pristine beaches at that time, and doing a lot of climbing on mountains and what have you, and arduous kind of work. And these guys were in tip-top shape because they were ready to go into the army, and they had been training and all that kind of thing. And here I was, they actually took a bus down to the Sinai, probably 8, 10, 12 hours at least, maybe more, to get to where we were going. I had to fly down the next day because of the marathon. I chose to do that way. And got down to the Sinai that next day, or after the marathon, day after, and pretty remarkable. But I was able to keep up to 7 or 8 days there climbing and running around and everything else with all these high school kids in those times. And it was just an amazing time, that's for sure. So quite proud about my marathon days, quite proud that, I've been able to transform myself. And one of the ways that I transformed myself as well was I transformed myself by losing or shedding, shall we say, a much better word there, 84 pounds quite a number of years ago already. And that's when, in the days when I was no longer swimming a couple kilometers every day and running 5 kilometers and doing physical labor, working in a dairy farm and riding horseback and all that kind of lifestyle that I was doing, living on a kibbutz in my years there. But by the time I came back to the States and I was doing some sedentary work and what have you, the weight came back on. And my family, we have a propensity for gaining weight in the Gordon family for sure. And I'm sure it has a lot to do with gluten, has a lot to do with carbs and many other sweets, perhaps. But I had lost weight, before this last time that I lost the weight. And it came back on after some time. And I realized that I didn't have a turn-off switch. That was really the big lesson that I learned. And I decided after it came back on, and a few years fast forward, that I decided to lose those 84 pounds, that I was going to completely cut out the carbs. I was going to completely cut out sweets, no more croissants, no more of the pizzas and anything else, the breads particularly. One slice of bread at one point led to having a whole loaf going back the first time that I lost the weight. So the second time I decided that's it, no more breads, no more pizzas, no more sweets. And I love eating all these veggies and fruits. And of course, as being a vegetarian, I'm eating a lot of good, healthy proteins as well. So I lost all that weight and transformed myself dramatically in so many different ways. It dramatically impacted my whole being and how I'm able to, race after my grandkids and being able to keep up with everything else that I want in life, to be able to exercise and, travel the world. And at one point, Margie was wondering if I'm going to be able to keep up with her because of all this extra weight that I had. Now the question is, can she keep up with me at this point? But hey, that's great. So, so having lost all this weight, it has had a dramatic impact. And it started off with a cleanse. And I did a cleanse, which is only 7 days of eating vegetables and fruits. You can do anything for 7 days. And I had no idea if I'm going to be running to the bathroom all the time, which wasn't always the case. And it really wasn't all about that. It was really about detoxing, if you like, or to reset the body. I was sleeping better. I was getting 8 hours sleep during that week. I was really drinking lots of liquids, lots of water, purified water, reverse osmosis for that matter, and which is a lot lighter and a lot easier to be able to drink 10, 12, 15 glasses of water a day easily if you want to do that. And amazing. So I was did the cleanse. I was sleeping better. I had greater focus. I had greater, my mindset was totally different. I lost probably 8, 9 pounds that first time that I did the cleanse. I've done 4 others since, and one I just completed a couple of weeks ago. This is probably my 3rd week already since that cleanse, and looking to slim down. I think I was at a size 44, 46 in my waist at that point, wearing those size slacks, and now I'm in a pair of jeans that are like 33s. And my goal is to be in 31 or 32 jeans already at this point, and to really celebrate this time because I can, and because I know it's going to be a lot healthier for me and everything else. Every extra pounds that my body carries, I know has a huge impact on my knees. And having run marathons and having run practicing and all that, my knees are somewhat shot. So it's great to be able to have all this weight off those knees, and to be able to enjoy life to its fullest and so much more. So I did a cleanse, and I thought I would share with you some other people who did cleanses that I've been getting some information on. Let me just check here 1 second here. We're going to pull that right up here. I just actually got some information from Susan here, who just wrote me that she finished the cleanse maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. The first 2 weeks, I know she lost 14 pounds. Including with the cleanse and what have you. And she wrote me that I've been getting a lot of heart palpitation for many months, and they stopped 2 days into the cleanse, and they have not come back, and I do feel tremendously better all around. So this is really fantastic. No more heart palpitations. She's losing the weight, and what a dramatic difference. To contrast that, and that's someone who has at least 100 plus more pounds to lose. Here's someone, Lauren, who is was a college basketball star, not just recently finished college. And she wanted to get on the cleanse, not to lose any weight, not as a jump start for weight loss. She was looking to get started applying for grad school and what have you. And she wanted to have greater focus and maybe to be a lot more alert. And she wrote, "Hey, Dubi, it was really great. My skin is glowing and my energy is amazing. I feel fantastic. Definitely going to try to keep up the high intake of fruits and veggies. It was really eye-opening. Thank you so much for all your support." And then we have Kristen, who she is, her confession, as she calls it. "I didn't want to do a 7-day cleanse, but I knew that I felt terrible. I was uncomfortable with my skin. My skin was breaking out. I was cranky. I was bloated. My sleep was erratic. I needed something. So I did it. Only because I knew that I'd be doing it with a group of cool people that would cheer me on, and that I would I wouldn't want to quit because I knew I could. And they'd be giving me recipes." Okay. And she drank boatloads of water. And what happened? It was nothing short of miraculous. Let me move this over here so I can see a little better here. Okay, nothing, it was miraculous. So I was successful in taking really good care of my body. Was I challenged, she asked? Yes, but I did prove to myself that I could do it. Yes, it was the best decision for me, my body, my mind. Now I count the days until I complete another one. And this is my 5th, and I can tell you it gets so much easier. It's like, who even knew I was on a cleanse? Doing it the 3rd, 4th, or 5th time for sure. So here are some of the results that she said. The best sleep she can remember. She fell asleep, stayed asleep sounder, and woke feeling absolutely refreshed. I can agree with that. Way flatter tummy, flat enough that I could wear shirts that I had not touched in months, she says. Was complimented and looking great numerous times, especially on the 6th day, proof that you don't look like death, warmed over on a cleanse. And she ate what was right for herself, even when her family was indulging in things that tempted her. So that's pretty cool. So a cleanse really was a jumpstart for me, in my case, not for always for everybody. Some people are doing it for other reasons, but for the weight loss. And 84 pounds I shed after that, and worked on a weight loss program that's been tested, been proven, has research products in there. One of the products has leucine in it. It's a protein shake that's a dramatic difference. It helps you lose the weight only from fat and never from muscle. And that's really critical, because when you start losing weight from the muscle, your metabolism gets screwed up and you end up regaining that weight rapidly within the next 2 years or so, and gaining even more than you had lost. So really important when you make a choice of what kind of weight loss program you want. You don't want something that's faddish. You want something that's proven, that you want something that's science-based. You want something that you know that's going to not be harmful to you, and something that's going to dramatically work, and something that tastes good too. That's really important too. So those are some of my takeaways, some of the transformations that I felt in my life here, having lost all that weight. And Margie and I went back for a trip to Israel a couple of years after I had lost all that weight and what have you. And I was able to race around the country and race up and down mountains and hillsides and all the rest, and not have to be concerned about my knees, not concerned about my back, not concerned about my body there, that I was able to leap like a gazelle. Woo! At any rate, absolutely phenomenal. So today, it's the 15th here of April. It's Marathon Day here in Boston. It's a day to rejoice. There were 500,000 people, as I mentioned, out there watching this marathon. 30,000 participants who each had their own dreams, had their own reason for running, sometimes in memory of somebody, sometimes for raising funds for a particular hospital, like the Children's Hospital or something like that. But everybody ran, had their dreams, and I'm sure they will be transformed knowing that they became a marathoner and they ran the Boston Marathon, and that's a legendary, storied marathon for sure. So thank you so much. If you have enjoyed what you've heard and you think that someone else might want to hear what I've had to say, feel free to just share this with anybody else. I do a monthly drawing for those people who are sharing my live Dubi TV. And there'll be prizes, so feel free if you'd like to do that. Again, if this is a replay, put down hashtag replay. Let me know what you thought about it. Let me know where you're listening from. Okay, so this is Dubi at Dubi TV Live, and this is the Real McCoy this time. And I'll be back next Monday at 11 o'clock, and we'll be talking about some great subjects here that I think that you'll all be interested in, particularly about some of the house cleaners that we started talking about last week, but we wanted to talk about the cleanse of the body itself, and of course, the weight management that goes with that, because if you're going to be running a marathon, or you're going to be running the marathon of your life, whatever that may be, you want to be in your tip-top shape. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Dubi Gordon, live.